America's Political Central. The primary season is upon us. Primary voting is definitely upon us. There was a sad night in America, another sad chapter in America, in the Republican Party of America last night, when Congresswoman Liz Cheney lost her primary battle. And it's sad because we see just how low the Republican Party has failed. Nowadays, in the Republican Party, if you don't go along with the previous president, lies, corruption, hypocrisy, then you're labeled a rhino. You're labeled a rhino. Imagine that. This is how far the Republican Party has fallen. This is Life Alert on steroids, where you see the old people say, I've fallen and I can't get up. This is the Republican Party. They've fallen. Now they can get up. They can get up, literally, if they wanted to. But the previous president has the Republican Party right now in such handcuffs, in such a way as corralled into the Trumpism that they've fallen and they refuse to get up. What can we do? What's the solution? Because here at Soluble, that's where we're at. We're always looking for the solution to make things better for everyday people's lives, for the American economy, for the American psyche, for anything America. In order to make it better when it's bad, we here at Soluble are trying to find a solution, always pushing for the solution. Now, right out the gate, as you can see, were these Trump acolytes. These are Trump acolytes. And like I said, we have to beat them twice. Okay, right out the gate, the primary winner, Ms. Hageman. Right out the gate, she came out with a lie, saying that Congresswoman Cheney didn't call to concede or didn't offer a concession. And then it was later revealed that Congresswoman Cheney actually did call to congratulate her on her primary victory. But this is what makes this party so dangerous and what makes it such a dangerous time in America. Right out the gate, she came with Trumpism 101, to lie, to fabricate, to go with alternative facts instead of the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Alternative facts, lies. This is Ms. Hageman. So we already see a sign of what's to come if she actually wins and becomes a representative for the state of Wisconsin, for the state of Wyoming. We already see what's getting ready to happen. This is Trumpism at its finest. And as I said, the previous president has been able to flip the party in such a way as I said, if you don't stand for the truth, if you don't promote his lies, if you don't go along with any of the BS that he comes up with or that comes out of his mouth, then you're a rhino. How many politicians, whether it be senators, congressmen or women, whatever, that didn't go along with the big lie, that didn't recognize the election as stolen, illegitimate? All of the people who stood up for the truth, most of all the people who had integrity to say that no, the election actually wasn't rigged. These people are yesterday's news in politics. These people are yesterday's news. So, as I said, if you won't lie, if you won't be corrupt, if you won't cover and carry yourself like a true Trump acolyte, then you're a rhino. You're history in the Republican Party. This is a very dangerous time in America. Because as I've told you before, now the Republicans see that they have to try to make the case for conservatism, for being a Republican, to a very younger, changing, well-educated, policy-driven demographic. And this is where it's sunk into. If we can't make the case, then we'll make up lies. We'll cheat. Whatever it takes to win. This is now part of the Republican playbook. Study it well. Study it well. But it's a sad time in America right now when we come to the realization that if you speak the truth about the 2020 election, as far as a Republican, if you speak the truth, then you're history. You're no longer welcome. You're no longer wanted in this party. So all the more reason why it's important that we, as I've told you before, and as I've stated so many times, we have to rock the vote. You see the NBA players coming up to this November's election process, they've decided to shut it down for a day for the sake of the election, for the sake of getting people out to vote. And that's where we're at. That's where we're at. I can't say it enough. I mean, you see it. You see it with your own eyes. It started bad on the campaign trail for the previous president, and it got progressively worse throughout the 4 years. His inner circle, losing sleep, very frustrated, very anxiety filled. It's a dangerous time in America. But we can rest assured, as I've said, these 70-something odd million Republicans who support this president are in the minority. But the only way to keep them there is to continue to get out the vote. Continue to get out the vote. If the FBI is investigating the truth, doing their job to keep America strong, to keep America safe, to keep America on the straight and narrow. But if they're investigating the former president, it's a witch hunt. It's partisan overreach. Joe Biden has sent the FBI to Mar-a-Lago. I mean, they're grabbing so many conspiracy theories and lies out of thin air that it's hard to keep up with. It's head spinning. It's mind boggling. Who would have thought that the previous president could take this party to these depths of depravity? But yet, here we are. Here we are. Trumpism 101. The economy is slowly ticking along. I mean, it's not the best, but at the same time, withstanding a pandemic that we've just come out of, a war, the unjust war in Ukraine, we're doing pretty good. Could we be doing better? Yes. Here at Soluble, we encourage our political leaders, whether they're Republican or Democrat, to try to work across the aisles to continue to make the lives of everyday Americans better. It's time to roll up your sleeves. It's time to roll up your sleeves, study the policies, study the stances, views of each candidate, and in November, be able to go into the voting booth and make an informed choice. There's nothing like an informed choice. For Negroes in America, we have to have turnout. We have to have turnout. Anytime we get a high turnout, we win. And nothing should be better for you than to beat the Republican Party at their own game. and right the wrongs that have been committed over the last 4 to 6 years, beginning with the unjust tampering with the Supreme Court vote and holding a vote, giving a nominee a hearing. The only way to right this is to vote, to keep voting them out, to keep voting, to keep voting. And it's right here upon us. This is our moment. We must seize it. Because we see that the Republican Party is falling and refuse to get up. It's not that they can't get up. They refuse to get up. Everything that they've tried to label the Democrats as, it's coming back to bite them if you pay attention. As I've stated in some of my previous broadcasts, when it was Gore Lieberman, it turned into Soar Loserman. After things were rigged in Florida and tampered with the hanging Chad and the butterfly ballot and the whole nine. Then it was Soar Loserman. Now fast forward, what do the Republicans have to say? They can't take losing. And this is what makes it dangerous. Say we have a Republican in office, in the Oval Office, and we're losing to a foreign adversary. Will that Republican president, whether it's man or woman, will they want to dig deeper and invest money to make America better, or play catch up, or to come right alongside or at least go ahead of the foreign adversary? Or will they start pulling out all the stops with lies, threats of war, and thus and such and thus and such? Because a lie would not become the truth in this situation. And under no scenario that the Republicans can try to drum up. But just think about that for a moment. We're dealing with a foreign adversary. We have a Republican in office who's full of lies, corruption, doesn't like to lose. I mean, when you want to win, most people will go out and make themselves better. When it comes to, something like academics, they may go out and study harder. When it comes to sports, they may go out and train harder and come back a second time around. Not this particular party that represents a political ideology in America. If we can't win fair and square, then we'll go low. We'll pull out all the stops. We'll do whatever it takes. If we have to lie, if we have to make up something fictitious, if we have to forge documents, whatever it takes, we want power. And this is, in fact, a dangerous path to take power, to seize power, or to win power in this country, in a democracy. For years and years, it's been a history of making the case, going out to the voter and making the case. And if you lose, you accept defeat, you concede to your opponent, and you get back on the campaign trail and try it again the next time, whether it be in 2 years, whether it be in 4, whether it be at local, state, or federal office. This has been the political norm. Now we're here stuck in the out of the ordinary because the Republican Party refuses to denounce or get rid of Trumpism 101. Let's make them a two-time loser. Let's make them a two-time loser. And the only way to do that is to rock the vote. That's the only thing that's going to shut them up, because when the Republicans lose this second time around, they won't have a leg to stand on. I mean, they didn't have one in the 2020 election, but because of smooth lies and just corrupt individuals who refuse to see the truth for what it is. Then we had the January 6th insurrection on the Capitol in January of 2021. The next time it could be worse. We understand, this is a party that's passionate about their beliefs and their ideology. But the way to power in this country is to make the case to the voters who have the real power to either put you in or take you out. So here we are. As I said, the primary season is here. The midterms are coming soon to a voting booth near you. As I've said before, to those who don't believe that the vote really makes a difference, Trump is no longer in office. That says enough. That says enough because you came out, you voted, you saw that democracy was on the brink. You saw that our American way of life was in danger of being lost forever to a radical ideology from a very unseemly individual. And he can't help it. He can't help it. He's been corrupt his whole life. That's all he knows. You show him legitimacy. You show him truth. You show him honesty. And yet this president will look for a way to wiggle around the truth, undermine honesty, and go a sleazy way if that's what it takes to achieve the goal that he wants to achieve. He can't help it. He can't help it. So it's dangerous for democracy. And we here at Soluble, we agree wholeheartedly, 100% with Congresswoman Cheney. We'll probably never agree politically as far as her being a conservative, and here at Soluble, we're being more democratic, more of a liberal type. We'll probably never agree 100% when it comes to political ideology. But one thing we can give this Congresswoman credit for is being honest, is being full of integrity. So much integrity that she sacrificed the one thing that really meant a lot to her, which was holding public office, being a public servant. It runs in her family. But because she saw the dangers and the perils of the former president being in the Oval Office, she made a vow as a patriot. She's a true patriot. She's a true patriot. She made a vow to do whatever it takes to see that the former president never gets anywhere near the Oval Office again. And that was a great day in America. Because of Congresswoman Cheney, a lot of us, we were able to breathe a sigh of relief because we had a high-ranking member of the Republican Party to stand up and not back down. Even though she's lost her seat, even though she's lost to a primary challenger, she's not going away. She's not going away quietly. She's going to continue to stay in the fight because she loves America. She loves democracy. She loves everything about the republic and the system of checks and balances that we operate under in this republic. So she's not going away. And that's, as I said, we can breathe a sigh of relief as Democrats that someone somewhere with an R beside their name, whether it be Cheney, Kinzinger, they're standing up in the fight. They're fighting a good fight. And this, sad to say, this is a rarity today with the Republican Party. They love to make up things. They love to confuse you. I mean, that says a lot about a person who wants to govern over you, who wants to have control over government office in a way that affects your everyday life, whether they're making laws, writing things into law, executing laws. Here you have a party that's totally corrupt, that's fell out of touch with reality when it comes to partisan politics, when it comes to democracy in America. They totally fell off the ledge. Yet they want to rule. They want to rule over your everyday lives. So, the best thing we can do is to continue where we left off in November of 2020. And that's one good thing that we can say about the previous president. That's at least one good thing here at Soluble that we can say about this president. He awakened the public, the voting populace in America. He awakened them to the importance of voting. That's the one good thing that came of this previous administration. And now we see it. We see the need to vote, to continue to vote, because the party is out of touch with reality. On the Democratic side, it's simple. The solution is simple. We have our political leaders in office, the ones who we voted in. So now it's time for us to, instead of like times past, where we become complacent, the election is over, we got them in there now. Now more than ever, we have to stay on them. We have to stay on them to get them to do their job, to do the job effectively. Because it's always going to be, unless something drastically changes, unless we can get a Congresswoman Cheney running for president and she actually wins. But until then, it's always going to be partisan, totally partisan. For example, they'll talk about President Biden and how he handled Afghanistan and the things he did, but they'll never, or I have yet to hear any politician on the Sunday shows or wherever they've come up for conversation with a journalist mention the fact that the previous president began to negotiate with the Taliban, causing the Afghan president to fear what kind of authority he really had in the country. I mean, can you imagine that? The most powerful man in the world communicating, making deals with the Taliban. That will automatically make a legitimate elected president fear for his safety, fear for his life. But as I said, you will never hear the Republicans mention this because they're strictly partisan. But before Biden even came into office, this is what the previous president was doing, negotiating with the Taliban. And not the more Western friendly political officials in Afghanistan who are already holding office. This is partisanship at its worst. America has always been for a long time a leader in the free world, championing democracy, championing the vote. And this is a luxury that we can't afford to lose. But if we don't go out and vote, we could lose it. And you think long and hard about that. The citizens in Russia have no other choice. There's not a special election to oust Putin from office. There's no impeachment process to throw Putin out of office for being unethical or starting wars under false pretenses. There's nothing to stop him. So he wreaks havoc, and the citizens of Russia are left to suffer. So think about how special and how good we have it here in a country where in a system of checks and balances, if it's not working, we can change it up. So rest assured, as I said, and be thankful and grateful that if you go out and vote, then even if it's 70 something odd million, 70.3, 71.2, whatever the number is of the millions, they're in the minority. And there's nothing they can do about it. Nothing. Because the system of checks and balances hell. This is a law and order party unless the law starts to investigate the party. Unless the law at whatever level starts to look into corruption on behalf of the party. Not a judge who signed off on the warrant, the search warrant for the raid, is getting death threats. Are you kidding me? Just for doing his job. Just for doing his job. And this is a law and order party. This is a party of law and order. Give me a break. Give me a break. The hypocrisy couldn't be more blatant and up in your face than if someone was to walk up and smack you with it. It's right there. What has happened in America? Along came a man who was wholly unqualified. But because of his racial beliefs, his bigotry, his hatred for anything that's not of a first and foremost Caucasian, blonde hair, blue-eyed, if you will. He despises it. He looks down on it. He sets it up as not being worthy. He's caused his followers and believers to look at these people or those people as not being the ones who've made America great. When there's been, we know, contributions from all races in the melting pot that has made America a better place throughout the 200 and something odd year history of this country. But not in the eyes of this president. He's a real estate mogul, if you will, when he can cheat to win there. He's a reality show host or a champion of reality shows, a champion of reality TV. Even so much so that he went back to his apprentice role to let Liz Cheney know that she's fired. He went back to his apprentice role. He can't help it. That's who he is. He can't transform into anything close to presidential. And he's brought nothing but shame and disgust to the Oval Office to a level that we haven't seen in our lifetimes. To a level that we haven't seen in our lifetime. So here we are. It's like, what do we do? Vote. It's simple. It's really that simple. I mean, we'll come on air constantly throughout the coming weeks. We'll be here to inform you as best we can based on the facts that we're given. But it's not hard to see. You just have to be watching. The Republican Party has went so far to the rogue right. They're hardly recognizable today in American politics. It looks like something out of an episode of The Sopranos, where you have the mob boss and his acolytes. A scary time a crazy time in American politics. So we can't stop him. Unfortunately, we can't stop him from running again because he wasn't impeached the second time. So we can't stop him there. But as I said, we can have faith in each other going to the polls, going out to rock the vote, because our way of life depends on it. Our way of life depends on it. And if he gets in again, and that's a big if, we know what's going to happen. We know what's going to happen. We'll lose our way of life as we know it. The republic, the democracy that we so cherish will be changed forever. Think about that. He's already reconstructed the Republican Party. Another 4 years will reconstruct our very way of life. It's not just the classified documents, the top secret intelligence that he's had at Mar-a-Lago in an unsafe manner. There's a lot of breadcrumbs here to follow when it comes to unseemly politics, a way of governing that's corrupt. So let's rock the vote. This is the way. This is the only way. So we don't have to be full of anxiety, wondering what's next, what's going to happen next. We don't know what it is, but we know it's not going to be good. This is how we were living in the 4 years of the Trump presidency. We don't know what's going to happen, but we know whatever it is, it's not going to be good for the American public, for the American way of life, and for the legitimacy of the American government. If you recall, when during the Trump administration, during the Trump presidency, you had foreign leaders, foreign allies all over the globe asking what's going on in America, what has happened here. But what we were able to do was right or wrong and show the rest of the world that Americans are not slow to catch on. If the ship is going wrong, we can right it. So that's what we have to continue to do, because it's not going to get any better. We have an unstable person. We have an unethical person, an unhinged. If it's someone else that law enforcement is going after or need to deal with, he's all for it. But the corrupt, crooked, and unethical things that he's doing, when it's time for the focus of law enforcement or for justice or to end corruption or investigate corruption, and that's on him, then it's a witch hunt. It's rigged. Anything that goes against him or works against him is not on the level. If the previous president really loves America and loves this country like he says he does, he would do the right thing. But he doesn't even respect how the system works. He wants the system to be changed in a way where he can get power and hold on to power until he's ready to let go. And that's not the system we live in. So there you have it. Any Republican right now, any Republican who's for the truth, who's for honesty and integrity, he's a bad Republican. Think about that. Just think about that for a few minutes. Any Republican who's for the truth, who's for honesty and integrity and legitimate elections, legitimacy in the election process, he's a bad Republican. He's a rhino. This is where the Republican Party is falling. So there's no time to be afraid. There's no time to lose sleep. Now is the time to study up on the issues, look at where the candidates stand, and make an informed choice. Can the Republicans get back to the days of George W. Bush? And I never thought I'd hear myself say it, but those were good Republicans. Those were good days, the good old days of the Republican Party. Until 45 came along and morphed it and shaped it and created it into the dishonest, corrupt machine that it is today. It's exposed. And it's exposed right before your very eyes. So until the next time we speak here at Soluble, the solution to this mess that we're in, that we thought we were out of, once we went to the polls and elected Joe Biden in 2020, we thought that we had turned the page. But some kind of way, Trumpism has remained still a mainstay in the Republican Party. And God only knows what the plan is when it comes to Trumpism. They make it up as they go along, for one. And it's not good for the American people when it's like that, when it's made up as they go along. Which way is the wind blowing? That's the way we're going today. But most of these winds that's been blowing are winds of corruption, lies, hypocrisy. That's the way the wind is blowing right now, currently in the Republican Party. But it doesn't matter as long as we have the turnout. That's where the focus should be at, on the turnout, on getting our numbers up, getting our voters out, beating them twice, making them a two-time loser. And it's a good possibility, it's a great possibility that this may bring them back to their senses, to realize that you lost the Oval Office, you lost the House, you lost the Senate, you lost your majority, you lost everything. But yet and still, the Republican Party is still on board with this loser. Half of them do not want to acknowledge the fact that Joe Biden is a legitimate president. Now, all of a sudden, the judge gets death threats. Now, all of a sudden, we want to defund the FBI. Don't defund the police. Well, it's possible if they're the Capitol Police. But now here we are, defund the FBI. Why? For simply doing their job. For simply doing their job. This is not a tit for tat thing. When the George Floyd incident happened, there was a very legitimate discussion there, and there was legitimate reason to have that discussion about whether or not we should defund the police. Of course, we shouldn't defund them and handicap them from doing their job. Of course not. But we must hold them accountable for the way they police every red-blooded American, no matter what race they are. We must hold them accountable for that. But this tit for tat thing right here now, defund the FBI. Are you serious? For what? For simply doing their job. And this is, like I said, this is the state of the Republican Party. If you come at us, and it's a legitimate reason, if you come at us, and we are actually a serious threat to democracy, then we're going to become enraged, and we're going to start to send out all kind of threats, and we'll get you one way or another. America is a melting pot, and we're better for it, not worse off for it. We're better for it. So that's never, as it seems at the moment, that's never going to register with Republicans, with the Republican Party. So, think long and hard about it. Even if you are a Republican, think long and hard about it. Because right now, this is the party of not the best man for the job, not the best qualified man for the job, but the best white man for the job. And that's dangerous. That's dangerous. That's idiotic. That is not serving in the best interest of the country. Because you may have another individual or another person who's more intellectual, more politically capable of doing a better job, but they just happen to be some other race other than Caucasian. That automatically disqualifies them. Just that fact alone, that there's some other race other than Caucasian. But that's what the Republican Party has fallen at. That's the depth that they fell to. We don't want the best man. We don't want the best man who will do the best thing for America. We want the best Caucasian who will look out for our interests and our interests only. So, as I said, and I've stated again, the solution. Because here at Soluble, that's what we're all about. And it's simple. It's simple. Some of the voters who voted in 2016 to elect him, they had a change of heart. They changed their mind. They realized that, hey, I made a bad choice. I was wrong. And it takes a lot for a person to admit that. That is great character that person has, though. That is a person of great character to be able to say, I was wrong. I made a mistake. So 4 years from now, let me do something different. Let me make another choice. Can the Republican Party get back to that way of thinking, to that way of doing things? It remains to be seen. But until we see it, the best thing that we can do, keep doing, is rocking the vote. Rocking the vote. Rocking the vote. It's our oxygen now. It should be the air we breathe. So, in summary, as I said, the one good thing here at Soluble that we can say, the one good thing that we can say about the previous president is that he encouraged more people and got them to see the urgency of going to the ballot box in November. So we'll congratulate him for that. Here at Soluble, we'll give him congratulations. We'll give him a round of applause for that. Because we needed it. We needed actually somebody to get in to the Oval Office who was such an unqualified, wholly incapable person of running a democracy for us to realize that, hey, we better wake up and start voting, or this thing could turn disastrous. We commend him for that. We'd like to thank you for joining us for this broadcast tonight. The primaries are here, and soon the midterms in November. We have to beat them twice. It's necessary for the sake of democracy. for the sake of the everyday lives of American people. We have to beat them twice, and we can. It's not hard to do. The early voting numbers are strong right now in Florida, in particular in Duval County. The early voting numbers are strong. Let's make them stronger. Let's get out the vote. Let's rock it as we've never rocked it before, to beat the Republicans at their own game and to make anything that is related to Trumpism a two-time loser. And that would be making America actually great again and better lives for you and the future of this country. We ask you to join us tomorrow here at Soluble for the issue of discussion for this week will be climate change. There's been a lot of natural weather disasters and uprooting of people's lives. So we want to talk about the seriousness of climate change. Where do we go from here? What are the solutions to it or for it, if they are? Is it too late to turn back the hands of time for this warming of the planet that we're seeing affecting countries all around the globe, not just here in America? So this is Soluble signing off. We'd like to thank you for joining us tonight for this political discussion. Feel free to add any comment, any commentary. Anytime you're listening, feel free to chime in. We're always looking for solutions to better lives for everyday Americans. So until tomorrow, when we begin to discuss climate change, this is Soluble signing off. We'd like to thank you for joining us. Have a good night. Stay informed. Be ready to go out and cast your ballot if you haven't already done it. And let's continue to make changes in America to get back to a way of life that we can all appreciate. This is Soluble signing off. Good night.